Welcome to a Community Partners interview, where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Nafisa Anif, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Emma Featherstone, the Program Manager for Canopy Support Services. Canopy Support Services empower individuals to overcome barriers and live their best lives. Within a welcoming, safe, accessible environment, those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, have access to individualized supports, resources, and specialized clinical services. Canopy Support Services meet people where they are and support them in moving forward. They provide the knowledge, facilitate the connections, and support the skill building to develop confidence and help people achieve their best quality of life. Emma, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Tell us a little more about yourself and what inspired you to work with Canopy Support Services, and why work with individuals with disabilities.
Well, that's a great question. So I started at Canopy 14 years ago now. We were called Tri-County Community Support Services back then. And I started in our finance department, actually. I have a business degree and just came here to work in the finance department. I have no knowledge or background in working with individuals with disabilities. And from there, I just found a true passion for the work. Obviously, it's extremely rewarding to spend every day working in this area. And so, I moved throughout the agency. I've worked for our passport program, which is a huge program here at Canopy. And then I helped start our central navigation team to try and get our central intake process going, which was really important. We felt to have people come in our front door and only have to tell their story once, because at this point we have about 15 specialized services that people can access under our Canopy umbrella. We want to make sure it's as streamlined and as easy to access as possible. So our central nav team tries to get that story at the front door, ask the questions that we need to know to be able to move you into whatever of those programs can best support the individual or the family.
That's wonderful. And I noticed that you have a program called the Adult Case Management. Can you tell us a little more about that program?
Yeah, so adult case management, along with our transitional age youth, they fall under a program we call our Quality Assurance and Specialized Services. And they're both programs that center around working with people with what the ministry would call complex care special needs. And that's usually they have an individualized funding budget from the ministry. So it's not adult case management in terms of thinking about, any kind of adult in the developmental service sector can come and get some case management. I would say that happens in our adult protective services program more so. But it's helping navigate those clients that have individualized funding budgets from the government.
Okay, thank you. And what do the Adult Protection Service and Adult Urgent Response Service entail?
Okay, so our Adult Protective Services, so APS, we have a lot of acronyms here because we have a lot of long named programs.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, for sure.
We need a glossary just for all our acronyms, but it works with adults with a diagnosis of a developmental disability who are 18 years of age or older, who have come through Developmental Services Ontario, so through DSO. A referral is sent to us, and it's for adults who are living independently in the community and just need that little bit of extra support to do so as safely as possible. So the APSWs, the Adult Protective Services workers, they work with the individual to set goals in terms of what they want to work on. So that can look really different across every individual supported. So it might look like having assistance going to medical appointments. It might look like support just in the community, meeting for coffee, talking through things that come up in their life and getting some resources or some support on those things. Might be justice support. So trying to navigate some of their court appointments, things like that. So it's it's voluntary program that's based on goals that the individuals want to meet.
That sounds very companionable.
Yeah, it's a great one. They do great work in that program.
And I also saw on your website that you have something called the Autism Services. Can you tell us what the autism area of your organization entails?
Yeah, so that's a huge program for us. That takes, I think, just under half of our staff are in our autism services program. So we have a number of, I'd say it breaks down to three components. We have individualized service that is all fee-for-service based. And then we have foundational family services and urgent response. So, and caregiver mediated. Sorry. So I guess there's four there. So I can speak to those a little bit. So our fee-for-service model was put in 2019 when the Ministry of Community and Social Services switched how they were providing funding to families. So instead of it flowing through us as an agency, it now flows directly to families. And so they can come and purchase services from us that work. All of our individual services and our group services are based on an ABA model, so applied behavior analysis, and are overseen by registered behavior analysts. So they can come in and do that. But I think the one that might be the most beneficial to talk about today is the foundational family services. So those are free services to any family or child that's registered in the Ontario Autism Program. So as long as they have an OAP number, again, another acronym, sorry about that, they can register for any of our foundational family services. So we run a number of events every month. You can find them all on our website on our upcoming events calendar. So we do social events. So whether we just did an Easter egg hunt recently, so a sensory-friendly Easter egg hunt. We do Lego groups to work on social skills. We do craft nights, teen chill and chats, they're called. And then we have a number of parent training ones. So we do kind of morning routine, challenging behaviors, ABA 101, that are focused on teaching parents skills. And then we have Caregiver Mediated Early Years, which is a program for kiddos under 4 that have an autism diagnosis. They can get an invite to have a round of CMEY service that just works on getting some early intervention while they wait for some of that funding that's coming through for those individualized services.
Perfect. And what is the behavioral consultation service all about?
Okay, so that we serve children, youth, and adults in that program. So that's one that kind of covers the broad range of ages. They need to have an intellectual disability diagnosis. If you're over 18, again, just like any of our other adult programs, they have to be referred through Developmental Services Ontario. If you're under 18, you can give us a call and we can see if that program's the right fit for your child. It's working on what we call challenging behaviors. So that's kind of above and beyond, the terrible twos, tantrums, those kind of things. It's really looking at behaviors that are holding them back in life or causing, them to not be able to live their best life. Because at Canopy, that's what we say is empowering to grow and belong and live their best life. So we work through an ABA model, applied behavior analysis model, overseen by registered behavior analysts. We work with individuals on certain goals in alignment with those behaviors.
Thank you. And can you talk more about the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder passport?
Those are two separate programs. So we have a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder program that is for anybody with a fetal alcohol spectrum diagnosis or suspected. So if there was any suspected alcohol use during pregnancy, then we can pick up anybody under the age of 18, or if they're over, or if they're 20 up to 21, if they're still in school. And so that our FASD coordinators are great. We have two, Alicia and Brittany, and they Shania and Brittany. We just had a change there, and they work really closely in our community just to bring FASD awareness. A lot of people aren't. That's not one top of mind with people, and so just trying to bring awareness to that. And then they work with their caseloads again. It's always just kind of around that support plan goals, coordinating services, finding resources for them in the community, and just being someone that they can talk to when they're having struggles.
Perfect. And
if you want me to...
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If you want me to speak to Passport, because I know that was in your question there too. So Passport is our biggest program in terms of how many clients we support. So we have over 5,000 clients supported in our Passport program. Yeah, and it's a funding-based program. So it's money that we facilitate through a reimbursement basis. So families will get allocated, again, if they're over 18 with an intellectual disability diagnosis and referred through Developmental Services Ontario, they'll get referred to us and they'll get assigned a Passport coordinator and an annual budget. And that budget is really set to get them out into the community, active in their community, working on skills, just participating, enjoying, again, betterment of life, quality of life. So it can look like anything from the funding could support art classes, sporting event tickets. It could be day programs, mileage to go camping for the weekend. Again, it's very individualized based on what the client or the individual wants to, their passions, their interests. And then the other component of that is respite. So the funding can be used towards caregiver respite, just to, give, as we know, caregivers often need a break, and it's very hard to find that. So there is an eligibility there to use some of the funding towards that.
Sure. Okay, thank you. And what do the transitional age youth service entails?
Yeah, so that's another one that falls under that specialized services team. So they can only be referred from a children's aid society or the ministry itself. And so it's transitioning from children's funding to adult funding if they have an individualized budget. So that's one that kind of isn't as, available broadly to the public. It's more very specific to certain people that are individualized funding from the ministry.
Mm-hmm. Are there any restrictions to becoming a member of Canopy Support Services, such as like age, disability type, caregivers, or anything of that nature?
So as you can tell through the conversation here, we have a number of programs, right? And everyone has a slightly different eligibility. So we say the best thing, if you're over the age of 18, all of our programs come through Developmental Services Ontario. So eligibility at the DSO is key to accessing any of our services as an adult. Any parents or grandparents that are looking to refer for services with a child, they can give us a call, and we can definitely talk about diagnosis and like behaviors and what they're looking for support for, and see what is the right fit. We really pride ourselves on knowing what is available within our communities, within our catchment area as well. So the hope is if it's not something that we can support directly, that we can give you the resources to be able to go and find that support elsewhere.
Now, without using any names, can you share a success story with me? What supports were put into place when someone asked for help?
Sure. So a program that we recently added, again, just due to the nature of our work, we often see gaps in service and try to do our best to try and find solutions for those. So one thing we saw recently was that, as we know, mental health crisis is on the rise and people are having to try to navigate that. It's even more difficult for people with disabilities because oftentimes your diagnosis can overshadow any mental health diagnosis, and it's hard to find, I'm not sure. I always say mainstream. I'm not sure that's the right term, but therapists that understand developmental disability diagnosis alongside your mental health diagnosis. So we brought in a mental health counselor a little while ago to work with our clients that at Canopy, just to try and provide that specialized support. So she has a background here working with individuals with disabilities, and then she also has that ability to do counseling. So the two coming together has been really successful. We had an individual who came in, he was working with our adult protective services program, and that program was struggling to identify goals with him and meet him where he was at because of mental health struggles. So he started working with our mental health counselor, Alicia, and they actually they did 8 weeks of service with him. It involved a variety of evidence-based models, so DBT and CBT, which is dialectical behavior and cognitive behavior. He worked on mindfulness practices that he uses each morning, a number of emotional regulation strategies, and all of them really helped shift his anxiety and allowed him to then advocate for his needs and communicate those with his APSW worker in a great way. And so now his APSW and him are working towards some goals that they might not have been able to do if Alicia hadn't gotten involved in doing some specialized mental health support.
Yeah, it's so important.
It is. Yeah.
Having the mental health counseling, it's so necessary. The necessity of it just cannot be understated or overstated.
Yeah. And he had gone to a few places to try and access mental health supports within the community. And because he had an intellectual disability diagnosis, he didn't qualify for those supports. So it's unfortunate. So that's why we've tried to ensure that, there's a place here for that specialized support for sure.
Wow. Okay. What is one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be happening? And how do we stop it?
Okay. So one other thing that we're definitely seeing a new, a changing society where things are coming up, and we're just having to find ways to address them internally at Canopy. And so one thing we recently did was put in a Ontario Trillium Fund grant application for a housing support worker. And we were grateful to receive some funding to do a pilot project for that for a year, because we're just seeing that, the ability of those with disabilities in our community to advocate for safe, protected, clean housing is a real struggle, especially in Peterborough and the surrounding areas. And so we are using our OTF grant to have a housing support worker on staff. They've been working for 2 months now, I think, and they've already successfully worked with over 9 clients that were at the point of eviction and securing new housing for them. So it's someone there to help be the advocate and be the voice for these people in our community that can't always be that voice for themselves in terms of housing. And so we're hoping we're really focusing on housing this year at Canopy. We're trying to get, the voice of our Canopy community heard. And there was a recent Peterborough housing project built, and we were able to get some of our individuals into that housing project. So yeah, I think we just hope that we can, do our best to alleviate some of that homelessness crisis in our city.
Well, thank you for that. Okay. And we did touch on this a little bit, but if you could just explain to our listeners, if someone wanted to become a member or volunteer with Canopy Support Services, what is the process for joining as a member, and what's the process for joining as a volunteer?
So we don't have, can you clarify what you mean by member?
I would say someone who is receiving supports.
Receiving supports. Okay. So yeah, like I think we touched on that a bit. So if you're an adult, connect through Developmental Services Ontario. If you are looking to support a child, you can give us a shout. In terms of volunteer, we don't have a super robust volunteer program at this point. We do have a neurodevelopmental summer camp that we run at the end of July for 2 weeks that we are always looking for volunteer support for. And then we have a inclusivity carnival that we hold every September. That we're always looking for volunteers to support that event. So you're welcome to email info@canopysupport.ca if you are interested in volunteering for either of those. And then, the only other thing is to become involved, you're welcome to donate. We have a Canopy Cares support fund that we use to, again, like identify some of those gaps that we see in the community through our funded services, and try to bring some support to those gaps that we see through our Canopy Cares support fund.
Great. Okay. And you just did mention one of the events, but are there any other events coming up for Canopy Support Services?
We I mentioned in our foundational family, when we talked about that, we have events. We have 10 to 12 events running in that every month. So if you're registered with the Ontario Autism Program, you can check out our website and our calendar of events and get signed up for some of those. We have some that are in person, some that are virtual. So if you're not local to Peterborough, you're still welcome to join us for some of those virtual ones. We are also always running passport information sessions. So if you're a new family trying to navigate passport, you're welcome to join any of our information sessions. They're also listed on our website. And the one that we briefly mentioned there is our Inclusivity Carnival, which is set for September 13th this year. We hold it at our main office in Peterborough. We started it as just a way to invite our Canopy community in and have a social day all together, and it's grown and become something that we now offer broadly to the community at large, and we love to see people come. We have a ton of families that come every year. We have a bunch of different activities and just a very sensory friendly environment, inclusive and supportive. So we would say save the date for that. We will open registration this summer and love to see anybody come to that if they're in the area.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. And if listeners are looking for more information, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can give us a shout. We have a toll-free number. I'm just going to pull it up here at 1-888-616-3456, or you can email us at info@canopysupport.ca. And we will help, as I said, navigate you to any of our programs here at Canopy that fit, or provide any other resources that we're aware of that you might be able to access in our communities.
That is wonderful. Well, Emma, we are out of time. Thanks so much for speaking with me today. And I must say that I really love the name Canopy Support Services. I really love the whole canopy aspect, providing that protective cover. It fits so perfectly, and it aligns so well with everything that you do.
Thank you so much. We love it too. We did a rebrand back in 2020, and it just has fit ever since. So thank you. Thanks for the time today.
Thank you. And this concludes another Community Partners interview. I'm your host, Nafisa Anif. Let's care, let's share, because we've all been there.